Ain't it a great day? Ain't it a great day? Ain't it a great day? Ain't it a great day?
Hello everyone, my name's Dean. Let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is August 3rd, 2025. And this is the moment of truth. In the coming hours, we should know without a shadow of a doubt whether or not Bitcoin will continue its downtrend for much lower lows or reverse course, break the downtrend, and create a higher high. Okay, I'm going to explain why exactly now is so important, right? Right now is actually Sunday evening, the time of recording, Sunday 6 p.m., and I'm going to explain why now? Why not tomorrow? Why not the day after? So that and more. So stay tuned, watch until the very end. Hope everyone's having a great day. Also, I'm going to make a special announcement towards the end of the video, so definitely don't miss that. I'm going to be doing a sort of giveaway through my new exchange partner. So, Bitcoin on the 4-hourly time frame as per usual. So we have this 19-day channel that we've been dealing with, right? Bitcoin was in this 19-day channel, chopping along, and we got an important move, right? This move right here. Whoops. Let's try that again. We got an important move. This move right here. This downtrend out of the 19-day channel. And I can say, it's nothing's 100%, but I think it's quite clear that our move, it clearly broke the channel to the downside. Okay, it broke the channel to the downside enough so we could say, okay, you know what, we should be paying attention. This may be something. Then again, in price action, as most of you know, there's something called a Wyckoff spring, where you come down to the lowest level of support, right? And you break down a little bit even below that, then you reverse course and you make a higher high. That's called a Wyckoff spring in a Wyckoff accumulation. But it's unlikely that that is what we're dealing with here, okay, for a few reasons. But, and let me just explain myself, not leave that trailing. But one of the main reasons why it's not likely a Wyckoff accumulation and you're not dealing with a Wyckoff spring here is more likely than not because of the preponderance of evidence for the bearish case on a larger time frame. I'm not going to rehash because I've been, kind of on a roll doing daily videos. I'm going to trust that you've been watching the analysis, so I'm not going to bore you and rehash the same old analysis. So, if you want, go look at the previous few days of episodes, and you can see why the higher time frame analysis points to a bearish trend, a bearish turn of price. Okay, so that for me, and I always explain this, whatever I may say on the smaller time frames, the intraday time frames, the 4-hourly, the hourly, it's not as important as my high time frame analysis, where I look at the daily, I look at the weekly, I look at 300-day channels, right? I look at 1,000-day channels. That is more confidence inspiring than anything. That is more probable in terms of what's likely to play out. So definitely keep that in mind. Hierarchy of events, you want to take the high time frame analysis and say that is likely to play out, and then the smaller time frame analysis is more explaining how and when, looking at the small time frames to give it a clue as to timing the market more precisely. So I'm this is not, could go up, could go down. No, we already did the high time frame analysis. This is just more let's try and find out how this is going to happen, when this is going to happen. So this particular episode is really focused on, this moment in time. And when I say moment, I mean, now that, let's assuming that this is bearish, this would be the final retest, right? Because when you're dealing with a channel, as most of you know, because most of you have heard me say this a million times, let me redraw that. Channels have three main areas: the top resistance, the bottom support, and the midline, which is the heart line, or the fair value zone. There's so many different ways to call it, but basically it's very important. To break a channel bearishly, what you need to do is start from the top, you go down to the bottom, you retest the midline as resistance, you break the channel, you retest the bottom of the channel as resistance, and only then, let's try and draw this, only then can you break the channel. So when I'm looking at this price action on the 4-hourly time frame intraday, I am not feeling bullish at all. In fact, I'm feeling more bearish because the sequence of events for the price action is exactly what I just described, right? If you look at the channel trade, right, it's a move down from the top, retest of the midline, break of the channel, retest of the channel's bottom support, and then a breakdown. That's the eventual breakdown. This is why, for me, this is the moment of truth. Because if it is a Wyckoff spring, which is the bullish scenario, the bullish, the bullish case, right? You invalidate this and you retest. Let's redraw this. In the bullish scenario, which is unlikely at this point, low probability given the higher time frame analysis, you would move up, you would retest previous resistance, because right now the bottom of this 19-day channel is your resistance. You break resistance, retest it as support. That is a recovery. That is what you call a bullish recovery, a break of structure. You're breaking the structure of the downtrend, and then you create higher highs, right? You turn a downtrend to an uptrend like this, systematically hitting resistance and then making it support, hitting resistance, making it support, right? This is the bullish case. This is what Bitcoin would need to do. So we can know very quickly in this intraday scenario, right? Even on the smaller time frames, whether this is going to break bullishly or bearishly, just by what this does right here. If it breaks up, then we've got a case for bullishness. It breaks up some more, that bullish case is even further strengthened, and obviously this next move up and out of the channel is more likely than not. But again, if it breaks down from here, that's it. And then the likely targets are the targets that we've been discussing in the previous analyses, right? The 100K, 98 to 100K, and then further down and further down, okay? Looking at this right here, right? And I'm not a big indicators guy, as you guys know. Price action is king and queen for me, but I left my stochastic RSI momentum indicator on purpose. And that is my favorite indicator to use, to be honest, because it's quick and dirty and it's quite basic. And it tells you a lot of what you need to know in terms of momentum. So this stochastic RSI momentum indicator is saying that on the 4-hourly time frame, intraday time frame, but still 4-hourly, you're all the way exhausted, okay? So basically, if I'm looking at my chart, how do I explain this? If I'm looking at my chart, this is a 4-hourly time frame, so each and every one of these candles is 4 hours of price action. I'm not happy if I'm bullish. I'm not at all happy, because during the time Bitcoin was bullish and had a chance to make a bullish case, it took 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24 hours just to go a paltry 2.36% into resistance. That is not at all bullish. Not at all what you want to see. Back to our discussion in the last episode of what a bullish recovery looks like, what a break of structure looks like. You have buyers stepping in when you go into demand zones, right? So if this were really a recovery, if this were really a reversal, then this area right here would be your level of demand. This would be where your buyers are stepping in and really showing strength. And you would have strong wicks into this level of demand and quickly recover some sort of semblance of bullish price action from that level, from those levels. That's not it. That's not it. Okay? So there's nothing really bullish about this, if I'm being honest. Obviously, I don't know. I'm just the same as any other market participant. I'm doing my best to prognosticate, to come up with the best high probability scenario based off of what the market is showing me, based off of the price action and whatever indicators I may use. But my my summary of analysis is it's not bullish. It's more of the same. This trend has not yet broken, and I expect it to continue until we reach a level, a true level of demand, i.e. a true level of support. So that's Bitcoin for you. And I wanted to do something else. I wanted to show you, nah, it's not important. Whatever, it's not important. Let's look at Bitcoin dominance. Okay, here's another case for why we're not at support yet. We looked at the Bitcoin dominance chart on a high time frame, and we concluded with a high degree of probability that this level right here, 64, was the level we're likely to be, that is likely to be retested, right, on the high time frame. I'm not again going to rehash that analysis, but we're almost there. And again, I'm leaving my stochastic RSI momentum indicator on just to show there's no break in this trend. So you're looking at trends, right? We're talking about trends. This is an uptrend. It's chopping up. It's not the most crazy uptrend. It's not the most violent uptrend, but it's a steady uptrend. And there's no break of structure here. There's no evidence of a break. So what does this mean? Right? If for those of you who don't know, if Bitcoin dominance, this indicator, which is a measure of Bitcoin's dominance vis-a-vis the rest of the cryptocurrency market, so if Bitcoin goes up and altcoins, if Bitcoin goes down, altcoins go down even more, Bitcoin dominance goes up. Usually, in very simplistic terms, Bitcoin dominance only goes up when the crypto market's bearish. Bitcoin dominance goes down when the crypto market's at large, as a whole, is bullish, right? This Bitcoin dominance chart is likely continuing its move to the upside until it hits a significant level of resistance, which we've already identified, which was that 64% level, right? So there's nothing really telling me that this is all of a sudden going to break down, because all of a sudden Bitcoin's going to start going up and altcoins are going to start going up, right? The only way you can explain this if you're bullish on Bitcoin is that magically Bitcoin's going to go up and altcoins are just going to stay stagnant. That wouldn't make much sense at this point, given the the recent price action. So again, Bitcoin dominance going up is another indication that we're indeed going to break down further in Bitcoin and in altcoins slightly, right? And if you look at our stochastic RSI momentum indicator once again, look on the 4-hourly time frame which we're on, it's pretty much bottomed back out in the time that Bitcoin dominance has made this slight retracement. That's very bullish. A slight retracement and a complete reset of the 4-hourly stochastic RSI momentum indicator for Bitcoin dominance. That is bullish. If Bitcoin dominance is bullish, again, that means a retracement in the cryptocurrency market more times than not. So that is really telling for what's likely to come. Last but not least, we look once again at our total three. Again, the total three is all the altcoins in the cryptocurrency space minus Ethereum. Is this bullish? Well, I mean, let's be honest. Here's the trend. And did we break? That's the question. And I think, I don't think any of this that I'm saying is complicated. It's, big brained. It's, oh my God, you have to be so smart to understand. It's really simple. You know what's difficult in trading? When you're exposed one way or the other, buying into the thesis that means you messed up, or buying into the thesis that means you're likely to lose money, or you have to cut a position and lose money. That's tough. That psychology of I'm not going to try to buy into the thesis that benefits me monetarily is almost like going against your better nature. And it's hard as a result when you're invested in the market to be objective, because you're always skewing your analysis to what benefits you monetarily. That's the difficult part. None of what I'm talking about is difficult. If you had no skin in the game, trust me, everybody would be like, no crap. Look at this. We're talking about the total three and whether or not it broke structure, okay? And the structure in question is the downtrend that we've been in since, let's just reposition this really quickly. Something like this, okay? Something like this. We've been in a downtrend since last Sunday, right? July 27th. And this downtrend, you can characterize a downtrend in Elliott wave, but just, just common sense. You can put a, what's that called? You can channel it. Wow. You can channel trends. Okay, so this is a downtrend and it's channeled. There's no break unless you break it physically. This is the resistance. The upper line boundary is the resistance. The lower boundary is the support. Unless you break it, there's no break. So there's literally no break in trend. You should never expect a trend to break unless it's broken. That's why initial breaks of structure are so important. That's where you start counting, right? So an initial break of structure would break it, retest it, and then start a consolidation to reverse trend. So if you're just looking objectively at the total three, you clearly don't see any evidence of a break of trend. Just like you did here, you got to the top resistance and you continued the trend. Top resistance, you should be continuing the trend. Once again, your momentum indicator, it's not 100%. Indicators aren't 100%. They all have blind spots. So you always have to use them, I think, as a complement to your price action analysis. But our stochastic momentum or stochastic RSI momentum indicator is signifying overbought momentum, i.e., you're all the way up here and you're likely to head back down. That means the total three is likely to head back down, likely to continue the trend of a week. So we're likely to see the total three go down once again. If altcoins are likely to go down once again, so is Bitcoin, right? The entire cryptocurrency market is likely to go down, and this is our target. It's been our target. There's no reason why our target shouldn't be hit. Last point. You had weekend price action. Weekend price action, typically the character is counter. Let me explain. And you can backtest it. And this is very useful. Very useful. So if you're trending, and I can explain this in terms of liquidity, we can actually have a quick look before I end the video at the US dollar currency index. Any big move in Bitcoin particularly needs quite a bit of liquidity to execute. Bitcoin's a massive market cap. Okay, I don't even know what it is. It's a few trillion, a couple trillion, something like that. In order to move that kind of that kind of an asset, you're unlikely to do it during the weekend when, major players, funds, governments, institutions are unlikely trading, because even the services that they use to trade operate Monday through Friday during regular market hours, because they're in some way intertwined with traditional market instruments, right? The traditional, uh, you know, uh, financial system. And what moves markets? What moves Bitcoin? The dollar. We've had that discussion before some time ago on this channel. But essentially, if you look at the US dollar currency index and you look at Bitcoin, they're more or less inverse corollaries, right? They're inversely correlated. So if the dollar goes up, the strong dollar means a weak Bitcoin, more or less on the higher time frame. A weak dollar means a stronger Bitcoin, because you use dollars to buy Bitcoin. And most of the world's economy, at least in the recent past, when I mean recent past, I mean the past few decades, has been 60 to 70% the US dollar, right? Buying power of, world goods on earth, uses, 60 to 70% of, or 60 to 70% of the goods bought on the planet earth are used, or are bought and paid for with the US dollar. So the US dollar moves these risk on assets, yeah, like Bitcoin, things you use dollars to buy and sell, things you use dollars to buy, rather. So I mean that to say, when you're expecting a big move as a trader, as a chartist, it's unlikely that you're going to get it during the weekend. It's likely that you're going to get it at market open, at market close, during regular market hours. Even though crypto trades 24/7, you're going to use the leverage of the liquidity of the US dollar that is only present during the traditional hours, the regular market hours, okay? So if we're expecting a bigger move in Bitcoin from where it's at right now to go to our next level of support to 100K, it's likely going to happen when traditional markets, especially when the US dollar is trading, okay? Ergo, weekends are for what? Counter moves. So if your trend is down, expect the counter on the weekend. If the trend is down, expect the counter on the weekend. Remember this, because I'm going to make reference to this concept more once we start trending. Once we start trending bullishly, you'll see that a lot of our retracements in the bull market are going to be during weekends, when it's counter to the market's liquidity. Like, these smaller moves happen when there's less liquidity. The bigger moves happen when there's more liquidity. The smaller moves happen during the weekends, less liquidity, holidays, less liquidity, generally speaking. Okay, and you can back test this. Again, these are just little things. They're not like 100% like always happens, but little things that you catch on here and there when you're looking at the markets constantly and you're making observations. You're like, wait, is that happening? Totally. So I mean, if you look, that's last Sunday. We go down into the week, right? And this is weekend price action counter. It's very likely that the general larger move that requires more liquidity happens during the week, at week's open on Sunday evening. Okay, so that's all I have, guys. For the announcement, I have a new exchange partner on the channel. I've had a couple before, wasn't satisfied. I cut the partnerships because they weren't giving you guys your bonuses on time. They were giving you trouble, bad customer service, and they weren't really reliable, and they don't really feature as a big part of my business plan. So I don't need the trouble. I don't need it, you know? I don't do this channel to accumulate signups and make my money like that. I make most of my money just trading, not even from my memberships, my subscriptions for my consultation service. It's just my personal trading. In any case, if a good partner comes along that can not only benefit me personally and benefit my community and is reliable and trustworthy, I'm all for it. And so BTCC, if you don't know, it's one of the earliest exchanges in crypto. They've been operating since 2011, so that's already 13, 14 years. And I believe it was started by Charlie Lee, the founder of Litecoin. Okay, it's a very no nonsense kind of exchange. They're not the new hot exchange out of Dubai or one of the Gulf countries offering some crazy bonuses, fly by night, just throwing money at people with bad liquidity and dodgy customer service. This is a serious exchange that's been around the block, and they've never been hacked apparently. I mean, I checked because my rep told me they'd never been hacked, and in 13 years they never been hacked. That's amazing security. They are based out of London, and they have great exchange liquidity for spot and leverage, and they have all kinds of trading pairs. So what's the deal? For my community, they're offering 10% back on your first deposit. So that means if you make a deposit, and I think the minimum deposit is 500 USDT, if you deposit at least 500 USDT into the exchange, you do not have to KYC. And within 7 days, you make a trade, spot or leverage, it doesn't matter. They will give you 10% back from whatever you deposited. So let's say I deposit $500. 10% of 500 is 50. Okay, so they'll give you $50 within a week's time. I heard, well, my rep says it takes up to 7 days. It can take less time, but they're really quick. They've been really quick and very responsive with me. So $500, you get $50. You deposit $1,000, they give you $100 back, cash back, no strings attached, nothing else to do. You just have to make a single trade within 7 days. And the max you can get on this is $10,000. So if you were to deposit $100,000, for some of you who that's feasible, you would get $10,000 back, no questions asked, and you can do whatever you want with it. There's nothing else you need to do. So for me and my community, I'm gonna be personally taking advantage of it, by the way, as well. But it's easy money if you're looking to make a deposit, if you're looking for another exchange where to diversify your holdings, right? Because something I talk about with my clients is you never want all your eggs in one basket. I mean, that's crypto 101. Things are difficult. Sometimes exchanges go down. Sometimes exchanges get hacked. You never, ever want to have all your eggs in one basket. You always want to diversify reputable places. So either cold storage, if you're good at cold storage. If you're not, use trustworthy exchanges, the Coinbases, the Binances. Some people would say Coinbase isn't trustworthy, but I mean, it's as trustworthy as we get in our space, I believe. Coinbase, Binance, what else? BTCC. That's up there with for me. That's like the blue chips of exchanges, right? I would add maybe Bybit to that. Yeah, just really reputable exchanges with really high liquidity that have been doing it for a while. So that is the deal. The link to sign up for that, if you're interested, is in the pinned comment with everything else. If you want to tip, Venmo, Litecoin, Cash App, pinned comment. And if you want to join the crypto mentorship and portfolio and the crypto portfolio mentorship and consultation service, that's also at the pinned comment. So guys, hope this was good. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Endeavors to occupy my prevalent time slot. I vocalize, too deep to localize. Even when I'm right on the surface, you act surprised how I work this, but I can't lie. Many a good alibi. I'll catch you later.
Visions are vividly enhanced with emphasis and amethyst to develop morale advantages which help us manifest magnanimous. We body vitals like evangelists. So listen when you're dealing with people who be revealing premonitions with precision. At least that's what I'm aiming at for now. I speak the language of the world, meandering throughout the crowd. Used to feel safe to say anything, but now it's a risk. It's hard for me to let go when all I can do is reminisce. Gone like the wind, here's where I begin. Should I smile or should I grin what's happening? Gone like the wind.